And welcome to another episode of Who Gives a Hoot? We've got a whole crowd here today. That's John, that's Kyle, it's Braden, or some variation thereof. And if you watch, if you listen, you can probably pick out their voices. And I'm Luke. So um, we had a bye week.
We would have had the Jaeger Cup final, but we weren't in it. So, yep.
Oh no. It's
Had
not
to rest and recover. Oh no.
You mean the Jaeger plate final?
Yes, the Jaeger
Jaeger
plate.
Not even
Utter
a shot.
nonsense.
The Jaeger deviled egg plate final.
Like, it would have been better if it was a shot ski.
Yeah.
The players would have probably enjoyed it more.
I mean,
Yeah. Like,
if they just did a giant bottle of like Jaeger, like prop of some sort, it would still be infinitely better than just a plate.
I mean, the plate could be. They could also have given them like shot glasses, and the plate is what you serve the shot glasses on for the team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not even a big enough plate though for everybody on the team either. So just real oversight. Hopefully next year they get it together.
well, they've got a few months before it kicks off again, so that there's time to get a real trophy company involved in this, or get Jaeger to send a magnum of Jaeger that's gold plated or something. But let's go back to the Oktoberfest game on September 21st. I was in a dinner during this entire game where I had no reception, so did not watch it. Story of this year. But
it was a good first half.
Yeah. Charlie gets a goal in the 31st minute, and Pedro double yellows before the end of the first half. So there's some excitement across the board.
How questionable do we think the yellows were?
Very, very questionable.
The second one, I don't think so.
Like
the first one, and unfortunately happened in front of my section, but I was looking down at the foul in question. I have not looked back at it yet. I wasn't sure if there was what they thought was like a step on the second card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's if you don't have an AR that has a voice or is in a good position, you're kind of stuck.
Well, it doesn't help when that entire game, One Knox was just lobbying the refs literally nonstop. I noticed it more than I have in other games recently as well. So I don't know if it fully played a part in it, but they were definitely asking for every little thing.
Yeah. Fouls committed for us was 16. Knoxville was 12. And then 3 yellow cards each for both teams, along with the red card for Pedro.
I count that as 5. I know I do it differently than others do, because technically 5 were given.
Yeah.
They don't normally count that. But yeah, they remain the team that we have the most yellow cards against, per game numbers.
They're the new Tucson.
Yeah, because Tucson was almost 8 yellow cards a game. They're at almost 7.
Yeah.
Bring him back. Let's bring him back. If we're going to have this kind of chaos, I want to have it with those that I'm familiar with.
Yeah. Gotta finish that relegation tour.
But we had, pretty solid passing accuracy both sides. Ours was a little bit lower, but it just kind of shows. One of your attackers gets a red card. Steven was injured for this game. So you have Pedro kind of filling in similarly in that role. But our defense stepped up in a way that, haven't been confident about the entirety of the season, but we switched back to that back three. At home in front of a good crowd. So but puts it into a good situation there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ostrom played great. Dion played great, and then they did sub him out toward the end, and Jiba stepped in well. The back three played great the entire time. So
we've had some nervier 1-goal defenses this year alone. That the last game was, I never felt near as nervous as I did as I have for other 1-goal leads that we've defended. This one almost seemed like eerily calm.
Like there were a few chances. A lot of their shots were kind of long. There was the one that Charlie scored the goal, also had a goal-saving clearance off the line. Mm-hmm. But other than that one, nothing super dangerous.
I'll definitely take the claim for the fact that I predicted last podcast that it would be 1-0 for us. But
so I mean, other prediction ever again.
Okay.
That's how it works.
I would argue we looked better than we did against Greenville and Richmond, where we scored 3 goals and we looked good the entire time. And, like, they, at least defensive wise, whatever. It just was not as nervy as Richmond or Greenville bearing down on us.
Yeah.
No, this one felt very, very tactical. This one felt like got to the locker room. Dom said, "This is how we're going to defend the second half." There was a game plan and they followed it. And it helps that Knoxville play very grind them out games. I think as far as the league goes, they got, I think, the lowest total goal scored in matches average. When you combine goals scored, goals allowed in the league alone, they've only had like a combined 31 goals in their matches or something. It's quite low.
Yeah, they've only scored 19 this year in league.
Again, I didn't watch this, but is it true we didn't have a single corner that entire game?
Yeah, we did not. There was no Modelo. They announced it at the very end of the game.
I think that's got to be probably one of the first times we haven't won a single corner.
Yeah, but I don't have a stat for it, but yeah, that's one you probably could go back and see.
Yeah, like just kind of looking over the stats here, and yeah, definitely an interesting one. With Pedro getting the double yellow, that leaves him out for this next upcoming game. We got a little bit to get into before we go there, but we got to be getting close on a few guys for yellow card accumulation. Gallardo picked up another yellow. He's got to be getting up there. We don't have a whole lot of games left in the season. That is kind of worrying because if they carry into playoffs, which we have officially secured a playoff berth, first team to do so, that if we start losing some of our key guys to yellow card accumulation for the playoffs, that's going to bite us in the ass real quick.
Yeah.
If the league were to ever republish updated league rules as far as like a handbook for card accumulation, how that works, we'd have answers to these questions.
We really would.
No,
I mean, it's so hard to publish rules, ain't it?
Yeah.
Because Joe's at 7. I don't know. This is from League One website. Maybe it includes the cup, which apparently counts. Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah. If it does, it's not counting it because if you're looking at stats for the league's website, you're seeing 16 appearances for most players. So that's not going to include the cup.
Okay.
And
yeah,
everything for discipline is supposed to carry over from both competitions.
So also the website's bad then because it should have both. It has Gallardo with 7 7 yellow cards in 16 games. That's not great. Luca's at 6. Pedro, they only say has 4.
I think Pedro's been booked in every Jaeger Cup game. I'd be willing to bet that.
So funny you mentioned it. So I was looking at my overall yellow cards. Leader on the team, overall time, JP Scarce, right? He was with us for 4 years. Number 2 and 3, Joe and Pedro, who've been with us 2 years.
So, like, Joe's a very hot player. That's his style. Pedro, I feel, has done the reverse Rashid. Like, he came in as a pretty calm player, and then he's just picked up a lot of, aggressive tendencies since getting more into his own. Whereas, like, Rashid came in the first year, punched a guy in the back of the head, and has just kind of mellowed out.
I don't know. I'm gonna go at this because he is a fellow taller person. I feel like sometimes you just run into people, and sometimes it just happens. And if you're small and you do that, you generally don't get called for it. But if you're taller and you do it, you more often do. At least that's what it feels like.
Got a wider wingspan.
I have never seen Pedro once on the field offer to help somebody take the jar off the top shelf. Haven't seen it. But the yellow card accumulation, if anybody has a better understanding of that currently, would be helpful, because that to me is really going to be a make or break going into the playoffs, especially Gallardo sitting on 7. I wanted to say 7 was the 2020 last time they posted the rules.
So Joe had 4 in the Jaeger Cup too. So
yeah,
that's
11.
I know he's missed games, but so I thought he missed 2 games where he didn't even dress. That was like a month and a half ago. If it was 1 game, I'd see it as a card accumulation suspension. And if the league doesn't make us report injuries, and they're not going to go out of their way to announce, card accumulation suspensions, I'd believe it.
Yeah.
Although they sure as hell make sure that they announce that Pedro gets a 2-game ban from something that he wasn't booked on. So it's selective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we won the game. Went an entire half down in player and still had a 1-0 win. So putting us into great position in the last quarter, even further into the last quarter of the season. So let's jump to the big news and in between the games. Braden, you wrote an article for the blog on this, so if people want a little bit more info, but Gary Green and Alliance Sports have sold the Omaha Stormchasers that are housed in Papillion.
No one says they're from Papillion, so
I mean, nothing good happens in Papillion after 6 p.m.
It's not really in Papillion. It's like on the edge of Papillion, honestly, even.
Hey, we want to league. We want to league Papillion. Come on.
Papillion. Like, I don't really live in Papillion. I live next to Ralston, or I live next to La Vista. Like, nobody really says they live in Papillion.
I mean, I live in Chalco. No one knows where that is.
It's not a real place.
It's a census designated place.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
So
honestly, surprising for me. I was not expecting this.
I think you read some of the tea leaves on this based on the way minor league baseball's been going. Gary had owned the Stormchasers for a little over a decade. I know he has a minority ownership stake in 2 other clubs.
Yeah, with
and
the Flying Squirrels and the Biscuits.
Yep.
Montgomery Biscuits are the other one, yeah. And so I would think that, because you're a majority owner for two clubs and a minority owner for two others, I would see unwinding from one of your majority owned clubs would be, unless you're looking to just liquidate everything, that would make the most sense if you want to prioritize one thing over the other, which is clear now with the stadium project that that's Gary's goal. I'm not. A lot of this is hindsight is 2020, obviously, right? Now that because it was a whirlwind of a week for news coming out about Gary, Union Omaha, and Stormchasers.
Well, I mean, this is speculation that we kind of toyed about on the pod since season 1. Like, if it came down to it, would Gary go all in on Union Omaha, or would Gary go for the Stormchasers? And I've always been of the opinion, we've had Gary on the pod a number of times, having met with Gary a number of times. He enjoys the culture behind soccer in a way that you don't really see that you get baseball wise. The biggest questions I'm feeling out of this, and there have been some that have been reported in the various news, is at the end of last year, Stormchasers attendance has been kind of declining for essentially a decade. Stormchasers have a hell of a year this year. The restructuring of minor league baseball, leaving less AAA teams, less direct MLB affiliations in that AAA level. But Stormchasers have a hell of a year this year. I don't know if attendance went up, but playing wise, did very well. But last year, with the leaving of Peter Marlette, the front offices were merged. To some consider it a detriment to the overall customer service provided by the club. But looking at it from a strictly business sense, you merge the front offices of two businesses you own, which is a solid economic decision. However, you no longer own where most of those employees were employed. And apparently there's something written into this purchase agreement that there's shared collaboration through the end of 25. But I don't fully understand how much that means. Like, if it's collaboration means it's a continued shared resources, or they're not going to step on each other's toes when they're going for marketing dollars.
Go ahead, Braden.
The way I read it is that, like, obviously Marty and Lexus, they're still going to be in charge of the day-to-day operations of both operations. And the way I read it is just simply, until we move out, it's going to be business as usual. And it's just more or less saying, hey, this is the time we'll have until we move out. We're going to keep it like this. And then afterwards, we can go our separate ways.
So,
wait, it was through the end of 2025, though, right?
Yes.
Which is why I'm thinking this is more. This is more because it works best for both parties, because the Stormchasers were bought by a private equity firm. They don't. It behooves them probably to not be rushed to set up a new front office for a minor league baseball team when it's one of 16 teams that they own, right? So having time to, basically, you can almost think of it as they already have this template that goes, that they implement once they, change, once they acquire a team. And it's great to have a year and a half to implement that plan, as opposed to 5 months when this is now 1/16 of our portfolio.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's 2 points though, and maybe Braden can answer these too. 2026, then we're not gonna have a
Stadium.
stadium by then.
I can't say for sure at this moment.
Okay.
I'm gonna say this: like, if we break ground before Christmas, I'd say we have a pretty decent chance of opening by 26. But it's not looking like that at the moment. And if needs be, let's find an alternate venue, or we can try to find a different solution. But until we're like past New Year's, I'm not gonna say that we're not gonna be out by 25.
So
I'm sure having a real condensed schedule at home in 2026, where we like play the bulk of our home games after July, is the last option to be playing at least the year we assume we would be playing. Otherwise, then
Like,
it's probably
yeah,
we're
like-
probably a year from goal.
So like maybe like play 1 or 2 games at like Creighton or UNO earlier in the season, and then shift most of the season later on, probably.
So there are a couple issues I see immediately in 25. Stormchasers have their schedule out, but field flips take, as far as we know, 3 days.
Mhm.
You have an expanded Jaeger Cup schedule, likely. You have more teams to play within League One. So theoretically, you just have more games overall. Does it even make sense to try and fit all of those games in, considering player health and travel, into the schedule that's allowed by baseball? Or do we look for an alternative venue, considering what season ticket holder levels have been in the past couple of years and the active interest to try and move into, UNO or Creighton prior to the stadium being built, and just get out of the shared space so you have a better, more balanced schedule?
So can I kind of let me alter one of the data points to your hypothetical here. I don't think because USL championship teams will be in the USL Cup next year means that it'll be an expanded tournament.
Speculation.
I have a
I think it'll
feeling
be
that
shorter.
yes, I have a feeling it can be more teams, fewer games. You're in groups of 5. Maybe you play each team just once, and they're gonna do some sort of regional tournament where you either have to have X number minimum of teams and Y number minimum teams from each league to kind of balance it out. And maybe it still leads to us playing a balanced schedule in the league next year too, because with more teams in the league, hopefully, and fewer cup games, it makes sense.
That is more my thought as well. I don't think
But-
we're going to be playing that many more games at home. Maybe some, but not that many more.
Look at you all being defeatists. You're not expecting Union Omaha to just run train on all the championship teams and have to host it at home.
I know Knoxville has their season pack ticket for next year, and they have like 18 guaranteed home matches,
Which is an increase of 4 from this year.
3, I think. Yeah, 3, because we're guaranteed to get 15.
Yeah, no, we had 17 home games this year.
Is that
Right?
including
No,
the cup?
no, I'm not mathing right.
Yeah,
Because we had
It's
30
11,
guaranteed
11
matches.
and 4, so it's 15 home
Mhm.
games this
So
year.
the things to also take into account are the continued promise of friendlies. And it sounds like those are getting closer and closer to fruition. An open cup that still exists. The Jaeger Cup, which, yes, the theoretical of how teams will be placed doesn't necessarily. And then an expanded league schedule. We're still not a big enough league to split it by conference.
I mean,
I-
if we have the number of teams that we expect next year, which is, I'm gonna say 18, maybe 16, somewhere in there.
I'd be shocked if we have 18 teams in the league. I think 16 is it's not ambitious,
Right.
but it's a safe
Yeah.
goal. We
Okay.
imagine we already know we're losing Lexington. I imagine we are losing at least one of NoCo Fuego, maybe both.
And I think we're getting 6 out of the 7 teams, which would put us at 16 then.
Yeah,
And
'cause
I
we're
hope
getting
that I hope that one team actually is able to procure most of NoCo's players if that's what happens to NoCo. I think that team deserves another
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
I could
Um,
see
Guys deserves it.
mhm.
I could see Fuego staying on just out of spite.
Also, they're gonna have California teams now. They'll have
Yeah.
at least 2 California teams next year.
Yeah, because you have Santa Barbara and
AB
Amarillo.
Alt, which is Lancaster, right north of LA.
Yeah.
And then probably a group of championship teams if USL Cup is both leagues next year. I mean, that's
Mhm.
gonna be just like a real nice, compact, fun little region of USL play.
Yeah, the one team that I'm currently not expecting to make it would have been nice for Fuego as well, which is Eugene, Oregon. That team doesn't look like it has as much together as the 6 others do. So
Were they
I don't maybe.
They're not even on the league page right now for future clubs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they hit 26. The main thing is that they're kind of low on the funding, but they do have an actual stadium. They did have upgrades to the public stadium that they're planning to play at. And they do have an ownership that has a decent amount. So I think they're just waiting to at least get some extra juice in there. So they're definitely not dead. I'll say that. They are alive.
Oh yeah.
They still have
Yeah,
Lane United. So
yeah, I just don't think they'll be 25 for USL 1. Like, it seems like the other 6 seem like they will. So I guess going back to the home game conversation, if that's 16 teams, we play a balanced schedule, that's 15 home games. Plus, if we have 5-team group, like was suggested, we're playing 4 games, that'd be 2 home games. That'd be 17 home games.
See, I expect Jaeger Cup, if it maintains the sponsorship there next year, to be an East and West, and we're going to get lumped into the West.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, which is a lot of extra travel, and
Hold up. You say that now, but West for USLC is
it's not
Tulsa,
as bad.
is
Colorado
Tulsa,
Springs.
is Colorado Springs. Yeah, these teams that honestly are closer than a lot of the teams we play.
That's better for us. But you figure each division that they'll likely split it into is going to have to be evenly balanced.
I wouldn't say that, because if you combine all the championship and League One teams, I don't off the top of my head know if there's any way to do an equal number, and if there's any way to really make it work geographically. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be some groups where the groups that have a larger number of teams, you're going to play all but one.
it's going to look like World Cup qualifying with uneven groups in Europe.
It's going to look like whatever NISA does with their independent cup stuff. It's going to just be different staggered brackets.
What you all are making me want to do is actually plan this out. So that might be something
Your
that
blog
I end up
post right
doing.
there.
We'll see. Huh?
Future blog post right there.
Exactly. There we go.
I was gonna say, don't not now. We are 35 plus minutes in, and
Yeah,
we have not
no,
even
no,
talked
not-
about the Spokane game
Not
yet.
now. But
Okay.
yes, future blog post potential.
Yeah, let's pull off from this tangent. The staffing wise, and one of the big announcements, Braden, you get into it very well in your post on wghmedia.com. Again, wghmedia.com. There will be a launch of a nonprofit arm of Union Omaha to grow the sport in the metro at the youth level, which is a huge step in direction, separating the teams. And I imagine the sale, especially considering where Stormchasers finished their season at this year, probably solid dollar sale there, puts us into a very, very good position capital wise to invest in the stadium, to invest in an expanded front office, invest in marketing, but invest in that nonprofit growth of the sport throughout the metro. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of positives to be read between the lines on this. We'll see if they actually happen. But it's something we'll definitely want to keep an eye on over the off season, and with the schedule announcement typically coming in January, definitely something we want to continue to stay close to. So continue following the blog, following the pod. We'll try and keep it as more succinct than we did right here, and give you the best info consolidated that you can find around. So who took the day off work?
I didn't have to.
I just raised my hand in a partially audio medium, but yes, I am going to surround myself with 3,000 youths.
3,500.
They love it. Call them youths.
And just hope for like the shrillest cheers in Modelo. I hope you have like 15 corner kicks.
Oh God. Yeah, for those of you that did not hear, no, I did not take the day off, but I have a nice little 4-hour gap in my classes from 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock. So where I can show up, maybe get a couple drinks before kickoff, stay for a little bit, and then I have to leave.
Drinking
Wait,
and then go to
hold
2
on.
o'clock class.
Yeah, then go to your class. I don't know if I'd recommend that. I don't think I'd recommend that.
It's a kickboxing class, so I think I'll be fine.
God.
Ooh.
Aren't you in physical therapy? Like, don't you know that's
kinesiology?
Yeah. Like you're gonna need some after. Like,
He's gonna take one to the gut and let out the loudest belch.
Spokane has been a tough team for us this year.
It's been mixed. So yes, in Spokane they have the home game. We beat them pretty handily. So it really depends on what team comes to play.
I don't believe they'll have Luis this time unless he's gonna be back because he's injured. So that is kind of favorable in our approach there. I would hope we would continue the defensive performance that we had from Knoxville as well, and hopefully not pass from the back.
Well, I'm hoping a 2-week or almost 2-week rest for Steven has him back healthy. Get him out there. 3,500 kids. The people who did skip work are really going to need to drive the energy. I just remember the first time going down to Greenville, and they had like youth teams all over, and we got most of them cheering for Omaha and Greenville. So, granted, I don't think many people from Spokane are traveling for a Wednesday noon game, but on the off chance they get a few diehard fans that get all of the kids cheering for Spokane, we need to make sure we head that off at the pass. And the energy should be fun. It should be a good game. High pitched, so if you are prone to headaches, maybe bring some earplugs.
I'm hoping the early kickoff. So Spokane seems to, at least their games when they hosted us, they would come out fast. They set the tempo early and they maintained it better for 90 minutes than we could. The game where we waxed them here, like Kyle said, it was totally different. So I think that's where Spokane can kind of get an advantage against us. It's when they set that pace early. So I just hope that we get guys that maybe we start the game off with a quicker pace simply because we're playing a weird noon kickoff game, but at least our guys are they're waking up in their own beds, that kind of thing. Maybe Spokane shows up tomorrow at, I don't know, let's say they show up at 7 in the evening, and then that's just, hypothetical, of course, no idea, but I'm sure they are smart enough to know to show up early tomorrow, but who knows?
Yeah, especially with that time change.
Yeah. Though I will say Spokane, I believe their last match was Madison. I think it was 2-0 to Madison.
It was.
After Louise's injury, they did not have a single shot on target the entire game. And if that's gonna, let's just put it this way. Unfortunately, Louise is their main man, and without him, they don't really have much going for them. The entire offense runs through him.
And Akale came on for him, and he got a red card. So if that's a like for like sub for them, then they're missing both of them.
Oh yeah. Wow, yeah.
So if we play our game, I think we do really well against Spokane, and let's hopefully the kids will be happy. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we want an entertaining game. Every game we've had against Spokane has been entertaining. They're 9 points behind us in the table, even on games.
They're like the lowest member of the top group.
Basically, I think everybody. I think 1 through 7 can basically clinch at the end of the weekend. It's if certain teams lose, then we're 1 through 2 right now, but 3 through 7 can all pretty much clinch by the weekend.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Just looking at it, because there's 6 teams that are still on 17 games played. Everyone else has played 18. Central Valley Fuego, I think, is already eliminated at this point. No,
no, they aren't, because that 8th spot, because there's 8 spots, there's still chances for a lot of people who might not otherwise have them.
If they don't win, I feel like they're eliminated.
That might be true, but they also play a midweek game too.
At least
I think all of the makeup games, I think, happen Tuesday, Wednesday this week.
Yeah. I know
we have a big hand, and we have a big hand in it because right now Richmond's the 8th spot, and if we beat Richmond on Saturday, depending on what happens behind them, that basically just lowers the benchmark for 8th and for who can catch who at 7th to get in.
But not just that. We play Richmond on Saturday, and then we play Lexington, and then we play South Georgia. So we play a bunch of these teams before playing Fuego the final day. But we could alter some things. So we're going to get people's best shot, depending on what position they're in at the time, at least. But it might be trickier, even though it is an easier schedule.
So what are we thinking, Spokane? Do we go full full tilt against them because they're a stronger team. And then we have travel to go to Richmond, or we try and balance it for the two?
I think we try to go full to these two matches simply because if we beat Spokane, we beat Richmond away, we leave ourselves in a much better position to get a home playoff match, but also win the Shield, which apparently, according to math right now, I haven't looked at it, we could clinch by Saturday if we win out.
If we went out, and I believe Madison would have to lose one and then draw Charlotte, then I think we would clinch. But
Yeah,
that's depending on a lot.
Yeah.
I put out the strongest lineup you can on Wednesday. We've had a week and a half off, so have they. And arguably one of your best players in Pedro can't play, meaning he can come back and play on Saturday. So you at least have some semblance of one of your top guys at full strength on Saturday to kind of make up the difference, for lack of a better way of putting it. And, you get out against Spokane early, then you can start strategically subbing some guys off too. So let that be motivation.
Yeah, I definitely think you play your starting defense both times. Maybe some of them out at the end of Spokane just to make sure they get some rest. I could see a little bit of switch up in the top, but from Pedro, obviously, but I could see a little bit of a swap going on as well. Knapp has really come on. Pedro really, or Dom really likes him. So I could see him getting a start there, like he had recently. So we'll see for sure. But
I think travel and injury are what worry me the most. I hopefully don't see a whole lot injury wise, but playing it safe, doing a quick turnaround. Granted, it's a noon game, so you have a little bit more time to assess after the game before you put guys on planes. But that's definitely going to be an interesting one to see how it goes.
Also, and don't think that this doesn't matter, but we are now practicing outside on grass at Warner for the rest of the year. They do not have to flip that field again.
Yeah.
And we've got 3 games left this Wednesday, correct?
At Warner, yes.
Unless we clinch home playoff.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
What are we feeling Wednesday's score?
I hate predicting scores.
I'm gonna say 3-1 us. Simply because I feel like we're just gonna get out the gate, get in. Maybe they'll get one, but
okay.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say 3-1. Yeah. I think they will get one back, but I think that'll be because we are up by a few goals, so we lax a little bit and they get one.
Okay. Since John hates doing this, I'll jump in first. I see us 2-1, them getting first, us following up with 2 unanswered after that.
That's confidence. Yeah, I don't have that kind of gumption. I think we have to score first. I think this is the kind of game where, being a home game for us, but middle of the day, different atmosphere. I think giving up a goal first it's dangerous because you don't have the same feeling of trying to chase the goal as you would. You're not in your routine, and you're not
thinking about the storyline in front of the children.
I'm thinking of the storyline where the children are curses.
Hey, it's a Disney story right here in front of 3,500 kids.
So that's why I say it's 4-1 because Pedro's going to be on the berm for this one, I assume. And whenever he's on the berm, the guys show up.
All right.
So, yeah, 4-1.
His heck was stronger than anyone else's. And Richmond, since we don't know how Wednesday is going to play out,
I do want to say a couple things about Richmond.
Yeah.
One is they've been good the past couple of games. We beat them 3-0, but then after that, they went and won twice, which is a third of their points on the season, is those 2 wins. And over, teams like, Lexington is not doing great this year, but we thought they did, but also over Charlotte. So like
they've won
these
3 in a
are
row.
winning.
Was one of them a cup game?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, must have been.
Yeah, they
Yeah, over
beat
Spokane.
Spokane, Charlotte, and Lexington.
Don't forget that
in the last 5.
that 3-0 win against them. That was a little.
The turf wasn't the best that day.
Yeah, and that was like, that wasn't. We didn't dominate for 3-0. We got that, like Knapp got that like workman goal early. Then Gallardo got a penalty, and before you knew it, was 2-0. And we didn't feel like we were playing up 2-0.
And then it was a free kick for the third goal too. It was Gallardo free kick.
Mm-hmm.
So like
just a real wonky 3-0.
Yeah. So they're really dangerous, and like we had been talking about, they currently lead for that last 8th spot, and they're not gonna probably catch the top 7. So they know that they've got one spot that they've got to fight for.
Yeah, I wouldn't sleep on them, especially given that it's a very real possibility we could play them again in the playoffs early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they've got the week of rest. Their next, we're their next game Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be flying in tired after playing a top team midweek with 1,500 miles of travel. So I think it's gonna be an interesting one.
I think it has draw written all over it for us.
We always play grind games against them. It's always just like both teams get
especially
9 shots
there.
with 1 on target. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked with a draw on this one, but we can't lose.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you guys want to toss in on either Spokane or Richmond?
Just interesting to see how many non-children will show up to the Spokane game. We'll see.
Are you going to get a clicker?
I don't have one, but I could pull up my Pull Everywhere questions for students.
Well, the thing I'm curious most about with the stadium experience is they're going to have probably group entry for all of the students, but will they have both gates open for a noon game, or are we going to be fighting to get through security amongst 35?
I don't care if they're children. If they're not planning to have full staffing for a game where they're going to have 4,000 human beings in the stadium, then they're insane.
Yeah.
It's not so much planning staffing as it's noon on a Wednesday, and who's your concession staff have day jobs because you can't survive off of concession staff pay.
Right.
Maybe we'll get some parents.
Yeah. Well, I know a couple of the concession booths are usually staffed by volunteers for charity, so that's something I could see is OPS or one of those having their staff work one of the concessions for charity dollars. But all right. Now that we have covered nearly everything, got one last question for you. Who gives a hoot? We do.
We do.